What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you have fastened your seatbelts and you are buckled in because the Dallas Cowboys are in Oxnard, California for training camp. Football is officially back. And on Monday, the Cowboys Brain Trust was front and center. They were front and center for the annual State of the Union press conference. In case you don't know, the Cowboys have a couple of press conferences every year that are a bit more interesting, a bit more reflective, a bit more of an offering relative to information that we can glean about this team that we're all cursed to love. And this is number one on that list. The State of the Union press conference from the tennis courts in Oxnard to kick off training camp is generally that. It's generally a State of the Union, something in which the Cowboys use to declare how they feel about lots of things. And they definitely did that on Monday. And we are here live on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. I am here, RJ Ochoa, to break it all down for you as I saw it. Ron the Don, what is up? Good afternoon, everyone. A quick update because I have gotten some questions. There will be live shows this season because it is football season now here, with training camp officially beginning. And there will be live shows multiple times a week, probably Mondays and Wednesdays, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday. There will be recorded videos definitely on Tuesday, Thursday, things like that. I am doing post-game shows this year. For anyone who's curious, there will be live Dallas Cowboys post-game shows, including for the preseason, that will be streaming in two places, the Bleacher Report app and right here on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. I fought tooth and nail to make sure that was possible. So just something to look forward to, some housekeeping notes, but let's go ahead and get into it for everyone who is curious about how Monday went. The Cowboys' first practice, by the way, Tuesday, July 22nd. So be on the lookout for that. We'll have you updated, of course, all over bloggingtheboys.com. So football is back, and that means the Cowboys have an opportunity to impress, or at least to try and impress. And on Monday, I don't even think they even tried. I mean, I would not go as far as saying the Cowboys even tried to impress. Now, in case you are somehow unaware, we're not going to get into the supreme logistics of it, but Micah Parsons obviously needs a contract extension for the Cowboys. He was first eligible for an extension at the beginning of last season, last offseason to be even more specific. The Cowboys did not take care of it because they were late on the deals for Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, which were matters of conversation at this same press conference a year ago. We truly are stuck in Groundhog Day as Dallas Cowboys fans, but the Cowboys are about 18 months late on a Micah Parsons extension. He did report to Oxnard for training camp. For all of you who feel like he needs to be a leader, and we'll get to that in just a second here, how much he practices, whether he does some sort of hold in, ultimately remains to be seen. There's a lot to this whole story, which is why we've been talking about it for 18 months. For what it's worth, I also talked about it on Monday morning with my good friend Kay Adams. I was on her show. Kay was nice enough to have me. Lots of you always have comments every time that's the case. She's a good friend. I really appreciate her shining a light on Blog on the Boys. The link to my appearance on Kay's Monday's show, on Kay's show on Monday, is down in the description below. We'll get that for you there. It's not there if you're live, but we'll definitely get it after the fact. That being said, Kay obviously asked about this because this is one of the biggest stories in the NFL right now. Why isn't Micah Parsons in camp? Or why doesn't he have an extension, I should say? He's obviously in camp. And the Cowboys were peppered with this. The Cowboys were hit really hard with why hasn't a deal happened yet? Why are you waiting so long? Why are you developing? It's not even developing this pattern of not extending guys early. Why don't you extend guys early? Why do you make your most important players wait and wait and wait and wait? And to be quite honest with you, there's no way in justifying it. It is insanely stupid. It only watches, or you only watch the price rise, the market rate go up, balloon up, X, Y, and Z. We've had these conversations many different times. You're a genius. I don't have to re-educate you. Well, you are more fit to run the Dallas Cowboys, I would say, than the people who actually do. And this conversation obviously dominated most of the press conference, but certainly the beginning portion of it. And at one point, the idea was being discussed again about Micah holding in and whatnot, and Jerry Jones interrupted to be rather silly.
Just because we sign him doesn't mean we're going to have him. He was hurt 6 games last year. Seriously. We've signed, I remember signing a player for the highest paid at the position in the league, and he got knocked out 2/3 of the year, Dak Prescott. So there's a lot of things you can think.
So yeah, Brian Schottenheimer, for some full context here, was talking about the idea of Micah Parsons holding in. And again, if you don't know what that is, that would mean Micah Parsons is at camp. You cannot find him in that sense, but he's not participating. Why wouldn't he be participating? Because he doesn't want to get hurt, right? He doesn't want to get hurt while he's in the middle of contract negotiations. Again, we don't have to get deep into the weeds on all this, but Jerry Jones jumping into the answer that Brian Schottenheimer was giving is already kind of silly. Like, let the head coach speak. But nevertheless, Jerry Jones inserted himself and said, look, just because we have him doesn't mean, he's going to be available. He missed 6 games last year. Seriously, that's what Jerry Jones said. You can see Mina Kimes, friend of Blogging the Boys, quote tweeted my tweet here. Let's put it up on your screen nice and large. And I thought Mina put it well. She said, anytime you can delay signing your best players while the price goes up and antagonize them in the process, you got to do that. And that's what Jerry Jones did here, right? Jerry Jones, in his what he thought was cute little way, was like, oh yeah, Micah could get hurt, right? I mean, Micah's so weak. He got hurt last year, and Dak, we signed him to this big deal. He got hurt. Okay, dude, what are you doing? Like, why are you peeing into this wind? Why are you trying to upset Micah? Like, do you not want him on the team? Like, if this is seemingly a player who you would want to keep happy, who you would want to keep operational, who you would want to keep, stay in the good graces of, and consider that we're only a few months removed from Jerry Jones in another silly, ploy way. Jerry Jones openly saying that he did not know the name of Micah Parsons' agent, David Mulugeta, who just happens to be one of the more prominent agents in the business. I mean, again, we don't have to relitigate the common sense of it all here. This was, quite frankly, stupid. I mean, honestly, it was silly to bring up, and silly in that, like, what's the best result here, right? Like, what's the ideal outcome in saying this? Like, does Jerry Jones say this and David Mulugeta and Micah's whole representation go, holy crap, wow, he missed 4 games last year and not 6, so we better lower our asking price. Yes, sir, Mr. Jones, we will totally lower our asking price. No, nobody does that, because nobody's stupid. Nobody's 5 years old. I mean, to use this only made the Cowboys look small. And that was really what this whole press conference was in a lot of ways. And so the reason the Cowboys didn't address this, and I encourage you to go watch it. I think there's always a lot to be gleaned or to learn or to take away from watching any Cowboys press conference. Obviously, there are a lot once the season gets going, but this is a really important one because it does kick the season off. And I want to give serious kudos to members of the local media who were grilling them. Jane Slater of NFL Network, Joe Hoyt of the Dallas Morning News, Calvin Watkins of the Dallas Morning News, Clarence Hill of DLS Sports. I mean, you had all these people who were pressing the Cowboys and saying, look, you're developing this pattern. This is what you're doing. Why are you doing it, et cetera, X, Y, and Z. And the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones couldn't. And I will, the only person who I'll give a pass here is Brian Schottenheimer, because he's newly infected. But Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones cannot answer this. They simply cannot. And the reason for that, because if you do go watch the hour-long press conference, you will come away, you'll say, yeah, they didn't answer the question. It's just, I know they said words, but they didn't answer it. The reason they did not is because they cannot. Nobody operating out of a spirit of logic, okay, can answer why this makes sense. Nobody can justify from a place of logic, once more, waiting and waiting and waiting. We can prove over time that if you had gotten ahead on the Dak deal, if you don't feel like signing Dak and you wish you weren't a Cowboy, fine. But I think you can at least agree that the price would have been lower if it had been done as early as possible. That's the point. We're having a financial conversation here, not one about the merits of signing the player. The CeeDee Lamb situation, if you had gotten ahead of all sorts of deals, not even Justin Jefferson, but Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the list goes on and on, Jalen Waddle, right? And now with Micah Parsons, if you had beaten not only the T.J. Watt deal from last week, but if you had gotten this done, if you had gotten the Micah Parsons deal done last year, when we said 18 months ago when he first became eligible, you would have beaten the Myles Garrett deal by a year. Myles Garrett got his new extension with Cleveland at the beginning of this offseason. You would be in the bank. You would already be in the house. You would have posted the clubhouse lead, and you'd be sitting there chewing on granola bars while everybody else is trying to make the cut. But you don't do that, and you cannot. Nobody, not a single soul, can justify why they do this. If you think it's because they're chasing attention or they're chasing clout, I think that's silly, but that at least carries more logic than anything else. If you think they're cash poor, I think that's silly, but that at least carries more logic than this. Only because this carries zero logic. Francis Smith says, key takeaway from me was it was Jerry's team and he'll run it the way he wants to. He doesn't care what you think and he shouldn't. In some respect, I think that is kind of badass, right? Like if you're a fan of, The Sopranos or something like that, like there is something to like the Sinatra style of hey, look, I paid all this money for it. It's mine. And, I get to do what I want with it. Like, okay, those are the rules. Like I can acknowledge that in the same way that I can acknowledge that from my vantage point, from everyone's vantage point, the way you're doing it while you're entitled to do it is not logical. That's simply my point. Francis Smith says they don't answer to the media or fans. They don't, but we're here to offer our opinions, and that's exactly what we're doing. Ron the Don says the most valuable franchise is the biggest concern. I hesitate to agree with that. I mean, I really do. I've historically pushed back against that. People have always said to me, they just care about making money. And maybe it was just a naivete. Maybe it was like hopes and dreams or whatever, like sunshine and rainbows. Like I never really believed that. Maybe I never really wanted to believe that. But again, I don't know how you can come to any other conclusion if you're trying to trace a logical line, right? You simply cannot. You cannot defend the way that they're going about this, which is why, again, if you watch this whole thing, you won't be able to ultimately come away with any sort of answer because they didn't answer the question. So as I take a sip of my vanilla sweet cream cold brew here, there was another thing. Ron the Don, by the way, adds, it's a hard one to accept, and I still refuse to fully commit to it. Yeah, I'm with you right there, buddy. Okay, so that was, dare I say, I'm pulling something up here to show you. That was part of the stupidity that we saw on display on Monday. This was weird. Okay, so to set the stage, because I think this is important to know. I think it's important context. A lot of people say things like, well, I'm glad we didn't sign Micah early. And at that point, these people lose me. But I'm glad we didn't sign Micah early because we signed Trayvon Diggs early. And look at that. Look how that deal bit us, right? That deal didn't bite you in the ass. That deal didn't work out perfectly. Okay, I'll give you that. I'll meet you in the middle here, right? Let's compromise. Let's have this discussion, right? He did not play up to the form that he did in 2021, partly because that was never going to happen. We knew that was never going to happen, right? And people make the same conversation or have the same conversation, make the same argument with Terrence Steele. Fine. Has he been an amazing player since he signed an extension with the Cowboys? No, but there's also context behind the fact that he was, a 2020 undrafted free agent, right? Like we can contextualize this, but fine. I will meet you in the middle again and say that neither Trayvon Diggs nor Terrence Steele have lived up to the contract extensions that the Cowboys gave them. Cool. Let's move forward. All right. So we both agree with this. Okay. Now, first of all, it's one thing for you and I to agree with this, right? And it's another thing for the front office to agree with it. It's a whole different other thing, what we're about to get into. But for what it's worth, the fact that they got those deals done when they did allows for them to have the escapability that they have with them now. I think we all agree, especially after what I'm about to put on this screen, that neither Trayvon Diggs nor Terrence Steele are going to be on this team in 2026. And the reason for that is because you got the deal done when you did. That is yet another reason to do it early, right? You don't want to do these deals late and then be stuck, because let's say you are one of these people that hates Dak Prescott. Let's say Dak really sucks in a year. Then you're stuck, man. You are stuck because you are financially tied and committed because you signed up at the 11th hour. If you sign up at the 4th hour, then when the 11th hour hits, you're already out, right? You can move on. You don't have to fully wait this whole thing out in the way you do with other deals, which again is why you should always be proactive. There are multiple pros behind this approach and this disposition, but fine, whatever. That is a whole different subject. What we're here to discuss right now is that even if you think, and I'm not even disagreeing with you, but even if you think that Trayvon Diggs and Terrence Steele were not good deals for the Cowboys, and you want to say that, you want to type it on the internet, you want to put it on X, you want to put it on an Instagram comment, you want to, make a little TikTok about it, you want to share it right here in a comment on this YouTube channel, fine, go ahead, but you're not the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys. So credit to Joe Hoyt. Asked the Cowboys, asked them right there in the press conference, said, okay, what's the difference here? Because you got these deals done early with Trayvon Diggs and Terrence Steele. So you clearly are capable of this. You clearly understand the merits of this, right? So why would I'm, sort of pontificating myself now. What's the difference? Why do those deals early, but wait on, I don't know, Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons? And before anything else, this is what Jerry Jones said. This is verbatim, dude. I'm not embellishing. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being silly or cheeky or coy. This is exactly what Jerry Jones said. He looked at Joe Hoyt. He said, frankly, should we have waited on Diggs and Steele? Bro, what? Like, no. I mean, again, we all might even agree. We might come to a national agreement that this was a bad idea, right? We may feel that way. and it's only a bad idea in hindsight. In the moment, it was cunning and brave and smart and forward thinking and the right thing to do. All right. We should not change the way we felt about it in that respect. But again, that aside, what are you doing saying this out loud? And if you're out there and you're like, well, he's got a point, then you're part of the problem. All right. Because if you're looking at this and you're saying, I don't see any lies, right? You may be right. Right. Like you may be right in a literal and technical sense, but it's a very, very, very different thing for, RJ, whoever Ochoa to say this and whoever you are to say this, than for Jerry Jones to say it publicly in the opening press conference on behalf of the Dallas Cowboys at training camp in Oxnard, California. It is simply, not only is it unwise, it's cruel and it's mean. And imagine, I don't know, imagine being Savon Ravel, right? Like you're working your ass off to try to get healthy, to try to do this, to try to get the deal that Trayvon Diggs got. And hopefully someday you might be good enough that they'll talk trash in front of you and embarrass you in front of everybody who's watching the press conference, right? Like that's a really bad way to go about doing business in my mind. On top of all these things, it goes back to Mina's point about why are you antagonizing your own players? Why are you doing this? Like who's winning? Who is a fan of these moves? Like what are you gaining out of this? That's something I say this a lot. And it reminds me of my dad, because my dad used to tell me when I was growing up, when I would struggle with a decision, right? Like, should I do this? Should I not do it, Dad? Whatever. He would say, well, what are you trying to achieve? Like, what's your goal, right? Like whatever you're doing in life, whether it's your personal life or your professional life, whatever, I don't know, project you're undertaking, X, Y, and Z, like you on some level at least think about that, right? You on some level say, okay, well, if I do this, I'll get the job. If I do this, I'll get into the school. If I do this, I'll, get a promotion, right? Like you have some sort of goal, you have some sort of objective, you have some sort of thing that you're trying to achieve, something that will, in essence, improve your life. And so I ask you this, whoever you are, and please let me know, please entertain me. I can come up with one logical answer to play the logical game, and I'll share it in a moment. But what good comes from this, right? When you're Jerry Jones and you're stirring the pot like this, what good comes from it? What are you looking to achieve? What are you looking to obtain? What are you looking to elevate relative to your own, like franchise and method and whatever? And the only thing I disagree with this, but it at least is born out of some logic in my estimation. The only thing that can be achieved is some version of tough love, right? Some version of, look, I want to send a message. I want to let everybody know, like, you got to earn it around here. And we're changing the culture. And if you're not living up, we'll call you out. I don't agree with operating that way personally, but at least that's the one thing, right? That's the only answer to me that carries some level of logic, some level of purpose. Because if you're not operating with a sense of purpose, you're just calling them out like to be a jerk. Like what did you gain in that? I really struggle to answer that question personally. Miss Felony Strutter says he did not have to take a shot, I think is what you meant to say, Miss Felony. There was no reason. And again, if you're Micah and Trayvon are boys, right? Like we've known that from the beginning here. If you're Micah, if you're Micah Parsons and you heard this press conference, or, obviously Micah is watching here. Micah, what's up? Rooting for you. Appreciate you being a subscriber to the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. Everybody's going to join you and subscribe and like the video and tell a friend. But if you're Micah and you're watching this and you're saying, okay, so first of all, this dude tried to act like I got hurt and whatever. Second of all, he got the number of games that I missed wrong. Third of all, he's calling out my friend in Trayvon Diggs and my other teammate in Terrence Steele, right? Like how does again, like how does this put you closer to your end goal? How does this put you closer to what you want to achieve? I don't know that there's a way that it does, man. It doesn't. All it serves to do is complicate the situation. And that is truly where we're coming from. That I really think I hesitate to speak on behalf of the fan base. I like to say that because I'm one person here. There are a lot of wonderful content creators in the Dallas Cowboys space, and I don't want to speak on behalf of anybody other than myself. If you agree with me, great. If you disagree, then let's, kind of, kick the ball back and forth and volley a little. But that being said, like, these are the things that are frustrating. Like these are the self-inflicted wounds, right? Like it's one thing if a player develops an injury, like crap, that's just the way the ball, bounced that day, right? That was the break of the green. You couldn't do anything to help that. You can kind of do a lot of stuff to help this. You sort of have to go out of your way to develop these. These are purely self-induced problems that the Cowboys have going on for themselves, and that's why it's kind of hard to square mentally. Now, I will say that ultimately, making sure I didn't miss anything at all. So this was a point I wanted to get to. Let's put this tweet up on your screen. Shout out to Jane Slater, who again was just incredible in terms of holding the Cowboys accountable on Monday during the press conference. So Jane here, this tweet I'm putting on your screen is her sharing the quote from Jerry about Micah missing time. So I'm reading this for the first time in totality. Jane saying, not justify, again, the quote here is Jerry saying, just because you have him doesn't mean he's available. He missed 6 games last year, which again is wrong. It was, only 4 games, whatever. But that being said, here is Jane's thoughts on it. Not justifying it at all, but I pressed Jerry after the presser, and it really sounds like he's drilling down on availability and leadership, and the reason Diggs has seemingly withdrawn Jerry's ire and was fined according to his contract was failure to integrate and train with team to afford those 2 things under the team that pays them and their watch lies. I'll explain this in a moment. Sounds like Micah is saying and doing all the right things, and Jerry was actually really careful about slamming him, but making it very clear, saying you're a leader, and being one is 2 different things. Again, we have heard worse between 2 sides of negotiation, so this is nothing to me. Just believe for the team it's beneficial to tie these things up before camp. So I agree with Jane. Like, first of all, you don't want this lingering. That's part of what we're talking about is a self-induced problem. This is not something that has to be a problem right now. This should have been taken care of in March of 2024, to be very clear. Now, I understand if you think these are just words, Cody Alexander, I get your point. Again, ultimately, this is just Jerry, though, kind of trying to flex and be Jerry Jones. And to the point at hand at the beginning of our conversation, he has earned that right by paying for the franchise, right? He's the one who signs the check. So like he's big boss man, right? That being said, not to justify anything one way or the other, but so that everyone is aware, in case you somehow missed this story, Trayvon Diggs did not meet the minimum threshold in his contract in terms of time served working out with the Cowboys organization this offseason. Worked out personally with his own trainer, did his own thing, which he's entitled to do, but it was in his contract, which he signed, and he was fully aware of, obviously, knowing that if he did not meet this minimum threshold, the Cowboys held the contractual right to deduct $500,000. That did happen, as reported by the Dallas Morning News last week. So we could sit here and we could argue that was petty, whatever. My own personal 2 cents are that I live my life according to the purple pants rule. And what that is, I've said many times, if my job paid me what they do, and I signed a contract, and in that contract it said, okay, well, these are your responsibilities, this is your job, these things are against our rules, and one of those things was you cannot wear purple pants to work on Wednesdays. That would be a pretty stupid rule, right? Like if we were friends, we were chilling, we were playing some PS5, I was like, dude, I got this new job, and can you believe like it's in the contract, I can't wear purple pants to work on Wednesdays, right? And then like 6 months later, I was like, dude, I'm getting suspended. And you were like, why? And I said, well, can you believe it? Like they're suspending me because I wore some purple pants to work on Wednesdays. That would be very stupid, right? Like on one level, we would argue, would be like, well, that's really dumb for that to be a rule. That's a really stupid rule. But Miss Lippy, it is a rule. And I knew it was a rule when I signed the contract. So I'm the person who chose to violate the purple pants rule, full well consciously knowing that it was and is a rule. I live my life according to this philosophy. Now, Trayvon Diggs violated the purple pants rule, right? Like he knew what was at stake by not meeting the minimum threshold, et cetera, et cetera. So in that sense, I side with the team. I do think that in our current moment, our macro moment, the Cowboys look a little cheap and look a little antagonistic, to use Mina Kimes' point. So, quibbling about $500K when you're the wealthiest professional sports franchise in the world just makes you look a little bit small. Multiple things can be true in this overall respect. So it is something that is unique in that sense. But ultimately, it is clear based on Jane's assessment and my own that the Cowboys want to be impressed by people acting like leaders. Now, this is where I will push back on Micah, because the Cowboys, Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones, in their Monday press conference, and again, I encourage you to go watch it yourself, we're insistent upon leadership. We're insistent upon, yeah, these are the guys, we expect them to be leaders. And, you know, on some level, if you're the highest paid player on the team, it's expected, right? It makes sense. Like we can justify this logically, that you would be, you know, assumed to be a higher level leader because you're being entrusted with something significant, being the highest paid player, the second highest paid player. You get my point. So I can walk that walk with you. That being said, you are the wealthiest professional sports franchise in the world. Where's your leadership coming from? Like, why are you putting all this on the players? And even if you're saying you're not putting all this on the players, this should not be some sort of merit-based thing, right? And even if it is a merit-based thing, this silly idea that Micah Parsons has to suddenly right now prove that he's a leader is quite frankly preposterous. Now, again, for anyone unaware, Micah Parsons first became eligible for a contract extension last offseason. I'm talking March of 2024. That was 16 months ago. So Micah showed up to every offseason thing last year. Micah showed up to training camp last year. Micah showed up and participated in the season last year. Micah got hurt in the season, and as we need to reinform Jerry Jones, missed 4 games last year and still came back and had an amazing season. And he did all of that when other players have been in that same situation and held out. If Micah wanted to, Micah could have held out last year at training camp. He could have said, dude, you are all up in a mess. You got this Dak, again, talking about last year, you got this Dak thing going on. You got this CD thing going on. I'm not showing up either. Like, I want to get paid right now. I'm eligible for the first time. You got to pay me right now. And he didn't. And some people have the gall to sit here and say, like, well, you know, he's not a leader. I need to see it now. I need to see it right now. Training camp 2025. This man has already proven to you that he's a leader. If you still need to see it now, then you don't want to see him be a leader. You want to keep moving the goalposts. You want to keep moving and adjusting so that you can get things exactly how you want them. That's not about demanding leadership. That's about demanding control over the situation. So this idea that Micah suddenly has to prove that he's a leader, to me, is a little bit of hogwash. If you think that that's a fair thing to expect of Trayvon Diggs, hey, he's a leader, hey, we paid him, hey, we have this in his contract, I don't have a lot to say against that, because you're fair in that stance, right? It's fair to say, we paid Trayvon, he has this stipulation in his contract, he did not honor it, so we hold the right to deduct him $500,000. We can quibble over whether that makes you look cheap or not, but you have the full right to be able to do that. And so the fact that the Cowboys did it is one thing. They still did not have to take a shot at Trayvon and Terrence Steele on Monday, because the moment you do that, right, I'm willing to say, and I think everybody who's watching or watching after the fact, or who just follows the Cowboys, I think we're all willing to say, yeah, you know what, dude, you're right. Trayvon, he should have shown up. He should have let your doctors, whatever you want to do. Ultimately, he should have, as people love to say, he should have honored the contract. We can agree with that. The moment you start to ruin it, the moment you start to lose us, then is by being like, yeah, and we never should have given him that deal anyway, right? Now you're acting like a jerk, right? You had all the point. You had all of the momentum. You had everything in your hands. We were completely and totally with you and agreeing with you in the way you acted. In fact, last week, when the Dallas Morning News reported about the contract deduction, et cetera, the $500,000, I tweeted that it made the Cowboys look a little bit cheap, kind of explaining my points, a little bit harder to do in a tweet. And I got a lot of people in my mentions that were like, no, it's a contract, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of people were team front office on this. And in my opinion, they ruined that on Monday. They ruined that by trying to bang their chest and trying to be like, yeah, I mean, that was pretty stupid how we gave him that contract in the first place, right? First of all, it's really silly for you to say this. Second of all, it's mean, it's cruel, like we said. Third of all, you're also indirectly calling yourself dumb because you gave it to him. So, like, who's the person who was wrong here? It can't just be that Trayvon messed up and poor us, like we got duped by Trayvon Diggs. No, man, like by trying to flex and brag, you're only putting more and more egg on your face. And that's what we're tired of seeing. That's what we're tired of dealing with. That is the exhausting part of this. We can deal with and we can square and we can accept the losing and the, falling short and the getting blown out in the playoffs. Like, we can ultimately make our peace with that stuff. But doing this stupid crap that is unnecessary and winding things up for no reason it's already impossible to win the Super Bowl. It is categorically impossible for this franchise, as the last 30 years have shown. So you are making it even more difficult by stirring this pot and pissing everybody off and trying to be the biggest in the room and trying to get the last laugh and talking about your appearance on Landman and reminding us about the Netflix special that comes out next month or whatever. So my point is, dude, just shut up. Just be cool. Just let us try to square this and don't make it more difficult than it has to be. It's quite simple request. That's really all it is. But thankfully, it's over. Okay, let's see here. JJ Watt has a tweet on this to kind of, encapsulate my point. I'm reading this for the first time, by the way. So this is making the rounds. This is one of those things. And this is kind of the way that the Cowboys like to operate. They want to be the center of attention. They want to be in the news. We all know this, obviously. So I'm reading this for the first time. Again, like Jane reacting to the Micah quote about 6 games and all that stuff. Again, it was 4. JJ Watt saying anytime you can publicly take a dig at your star quarterback. Because again, Jerry referenced that Dak missed time as well. And your star pass rusher simultaneously right before the season begins. You just got to take it. Nothing makes guys want to fight for you more than hearing how upset you are that they got hurt while fighting for you. This is my whole point. The Cowboys, people love to say things like the Cowboys do everything wrong and the Cowboys have been making these mistakes for 30 years. I don't agree with that, right? They have made some mistakes. They have done a lot of great things. They have been very smart in a lot of ways. Okay. Multiple things can be true here. With regards to this situation, if you don't want to pay Micah, first of all, you're going to lose. Like, we all know this. We've seen this before. You lost with Dak. You lost with Dak twice. You lost with CD. You lost with DeMarcus Lawrence. You lost with Dez. You are not good at this, and you're gonna lose with Micah. We all know this. So you can try to act tough and to puff your chest out and to be big and to be tall when you're in front of the microphones and act like you run the Cowboys and you sign all these checks and watch our Netflix documentary coming out. That's great. But when this thing ultimately happens, you're going to cut Micah the check for whatever he wants. We all know this. So why piss him off? And why drag Dak Prescott into it? And why drag Terrence Steele and Trayvon Diggs, right? To JJ Watt's point, even if you don't fully buy into the like fight for your whatever ownership, blah, 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 like football, that's a little bit of football-y stuff. I mean, I would put some merit behind it, especially if JJ Watt is saying it. But ultimately, like, why do that? Why not just keep harmony going? Why create incessant chaos? This truly is the Michael Scott of the NFL, right? It's just like everything is nice and everyone's happy and they're just like, man, I got to ruin it. I got to find a way. Like I'm not enjoying this. I've got to find a way to ruin it right now, right here, right now. Julian says he doesn't understand the NFL isn't the oil or real estate business. I think they don't understand a lot of things, but those are just my 2 cents. My name is RJ Ochoa. It's football season, which means I have stuff coming out all the time, every single day, multiple tweets, multiple posts, multiple videos, multiple Instagram reels, multiple TikToks, multiple videos. So I'm on social, X, Instagram, Threads at RJ Ochoa, TikTok, RJ.Ochoa. I'm on Blue Sky. I have a Facebook page. You can like it there. Follow me on LinkedIn. I write all the time for bloggingtheboys.com, myself and our wonderful staff. Obviously, I'm here multiple times throughout the day, throughout the week. The Blogging the Boys YouTube channel, like the video, subscribe. Football season's here. This team pisses us off to no ends, but we are going to get through it together. As Merk O says, top 10 Jerry Passer of all time today. LOL, bro, did not care. Yeah, there's a line I think about sometimes with stuff like this. I hope that Merk O you have, but I hope everybody has seen Scent of a Woman with Al Pacino. And if you haven't seen it, this is going to make no sense, but I have to say it. I'm compelled at this point. At the end of the movie, at the best part for those who have seen it, Al Pacino is talking and says that he would have taken a flamethrower to this place. And that's what Jerry just did today. He was like, oh, y'all are happy and everything's cool. Check out this flamethrower. I'm really about to mess some stuff up. So that's what happened on Monday. But we'll be back on Tuesday with some more stuff. The first practice of the season for the Dallas Cowboys on Tuesday. We'll have you covered everything you need to know throughout the Blogging the Boys universe across all my socials. Like I said, thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope you have an amazing dinner or lunch or treat or breakfast or coffee, whatever you got going on. Thanks so much for hanging out. We will see you next time.